Well, good afternoon and welcome to Recovery Live. This event is brought to you by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's Bringing Recovery Supports to Scale Technical Assistance Center strategy, otherwise known as Brass Tacks. Our TA Center is dedicated to increasing access to recovery supports, and we achieve this work through a variety of mechanisms, including a lot of technical assistance that's really focused on system transformation and developing the capacity of peer-run recovery community and family and youth-led organizations. Folks, we're really fortunate today to have some terrific presenters, and they're from all around the country, and they're going to be talking about treatment engagement using recovery supports for people experiencing homelessness. I'm really pleased to have Dr. Raleigh Oden, who is an MD and the director for the Work and Gain Education Employment Skills Program for the Colorado Coalition of the Homeless. I'm pleased again to have Jeff McQueen joining us. He's the Chief Program Director of the Mental Health Association of Nassau County. And finally, we're going to hear from Lakeisha Dumas today. She is a coordinator with the Office of Consumer Engagement, Multnomah County, Lakeisha, Mental Health and Addiction Services Division. Now, I'm going to turn things over to them very shortly, but first I need to review a few housekeeping items with everybody on the event today. Recovery Live events are different from usual webinars. You will engage directly with our presenters and each other through the live chat box, and you're going to answer several audience poll questions. The presenters are going to share some of their initial thoughts, and then are going to answer questions that you raised during this event. So you're going to see a lot of movement in the room, and we hope that you will find that energizing and exciting. You can share your questions and comments throughout this event. Audience members are in a listen-only mode, and you can submit questions by typing them into the comments and questions here box. Now, if you experience any technical difficulties, please request assistance in that same box. Tech support are watching all your comments right now, and they will respond really quickly to your needs. There's also several resources to this topic that are available for download from the resource box. To download the file, just highlight the name of that document. The download button is going to light up in the box, and you will click that button, and the document's going to magically appear on your computer. Now, often our audience members share links to their own favorite resources in the chat box. This event is being recorded, and the recording link will be shared with all registrants after the event. You're going to be able to review the chat and rewatch the presenters using that link. So today's session is going to be approximately 1 hour. If you are listening to this content and you feel your organization may need some technical assistance around this or any other topic, frankly, please copy the link for our online TA request form from the instructions box. The style of today's event is dependent on this type of participation from you. You're going to see a couple of more polls that come up in the room today, and again, we hope that you will participate. Now, when we close this room, a satisfaction survey is going to automatically open in your internet browser. And folks, we really appreciate you taking a few minutes to complete the survey because your answers really help us better serve you. And we want the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, whatever you feel is appropriate, let us know. That the events and Recovery Live in general have evolved into what you're seeing today as a direct result of feedback from audience participants. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Now, before I turn this over to the presenters, as folks were arriving today, we posted a poll question, and it's just getting a sense of who's in the room today. So let me just kind of report out on that poll a little bit. And it looks like we've got about 20% folks are people in recovery. We've got another almost 20% that are peer support specialists identifying as. About 10% folks that, 9% that are recovery coaches. It's really lovely to see this large outreach case manager number. It's about 25%. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled to see service coordinators here too as well. And it's fantastic to see mental health clinicians. We've got about 16%. There's some primary care clinicians, and I'm really excited just to have the 3 or 4 of you that are here today. That's fantastic. Always great to see program directors and CEOs because that's where the decisions get made, and being able to educate and raise awareness in these events, I think, is really beneficial to program directors and chief executive officers. Nice to see some policymakers. And always great to have a few educators that join us and researchers. Really pleased to see students and interns here because you're going to perpetuate and promote this information everywhere you go. There's about 35% that just listed themselves as others, so they're just folks that are interested in the topic and the conversation that we're having today. All right. Okay, so let me get into why everybody's actually here today, and it certainly wasn't to listen to me do all the housekeeping. Dr. Oden, would you please get us started?
I think Jeff's going to start it.
Sorry, guys. I really apologize. Jeff, please get us started.
So first of all, I think that this is very exciting that we're even having this conversation to begin with, because there seems to be a fine crack where things slip through the gaps for our homeless community, and oftentimes people don't want to go out and engage them. They're waiting on them to come and interact with us. And I think this is an important conversation to be able to talk about how do we reach them and what do we do and how do we make sure that we're able to provide them with the necessary services to help them find a
Jeff?
job. Yes.
Jeff, excuse me 1 second. I'm having a really hard time hearing you. And can you either speak up or get the speaker closer to your mouth?
Can you not hear me okay? Is this better?
Now I can. Yes, that's better. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I've never been told I can't be heard before. I didn't know what to do with that. I've been told I speak in stereo. So I just think to move forward, I think it's very important having this conversation because it's oftentimes this community and population that gets missed, and it's so important for us to figure out ways to engage them rather than constantly sitting at our desk waiting on them to come and engage with us, you know? And so I think that it's important to know, so what some of the things, first let me tell you a little bit about who we are. So I'm the Chief Program Officer with the Mental Health Association of Nassau County, and we provide an array of services, and one of the services that we do provide is to our homeless community, both as it relates to substance use disorder and mental health. And so we tend to set up stations. I have community health workers that are in the ER to engage with individuals who may come in dealing with overdoses. I have peers who interact at treatment facilities and also go to soup kitchens and I'm in Hempstead, so we're in a local transportation hub. And so I have peers that are constantly just kind of camped out around the train station and the bus station to interact with individuals and try to offer them some support and let them know that we're available. We use a one-page and it makes things real simple and easy, and it's just important that they know that we're here to offer them services. We generally, there's 4 deliverables that we do, and one is just daily wellness activities at our main office. We offer respite services for individuals who may need a break from the street and be able to get their life started while they find the resources that they want to go to. We do some resource development, kind of care coordination, case management services that help them find out who in the community is best to serve the needs that they have. And then we also have a way of allowing them, if they're not ready, to give them a warm line. So when you do decide you want to give us a call, here's a number that you could catch us 24 hours a day. And that tends to open up a lot of doors, especially when they see us day after day and they don't want to come talk to us. And then finally, when things are enough, they decide to give us a call. And so that's always a good thing. I think the outreach strategies are strong when they're repetitive, because it's real important that they see us in their community day in and day out. This is not no one-stop shop. We're not just coming on a Tuesday trying to get numbers and make ourselves look good. We're here every day. That way they understand that we do care and that we're not giving up. We want to see you every day. We want to know how well you're doing. We want to be able to make sure that you have clean utensils to use. We want to make sure that the opportunities for you to have a clear path to wellness are constantly open for you. And in the engagement strategy, It's really important, and you'll notice this slide has a bunch of words about mutuality and honesty and being genuine and, open-minded and having offering a lot of hope. And the reason why I put these words on there is because in a peer engagement, it's real important that the individual knows that I'm not just some textbook clinician that's coming to you with no real knowledge about what's going on. The people who engage are individuals who have been on the street, who know what it is to be incarcerated, who are really clear about what it is to try to kick a heroin habit or to try to stop using drugs when the compulsion is very strong. And we just want to be able to make sure that they know that it's possible, that if we were able to do it, that you also have this opportunity. And we want to be extremely honest, and a lot of times people don't know what that means. A lot of times people hear us and they're not really sure what we're saying or what we're talking about, and they want to twist things, and that's why I got the truth upside down, because no matter what we say, we're being honest and open with you, and it gives you the opportunity to twist it and contort it any way you want to, and no matter how you turn it, the truth is going to be the truth. And they finally get to see that over a course of time with us constantly engaging with them. And there's a path when it comes to this engagement and connection that isn't just as simple as, hey, let's come out and have a conversation. It's real important that they understand that what we're offering is not this overnight success and this fly-by-night miracle model, right? We don't want individuals to believe that what we're offering them is this thing that's going to happen the minute we touch you. It's not, right? I have an 85-15% rule. And what that means is that we're willing to do 15% of the work, but you've got to do 85, right? You've got to jump through some hoops. You've got to make some appointments. You've got to make sure that you take the time and the initiative to get to the places and do the things that we need you to do, because at the end of the day, it's not my recovery you're seeking, it's your own recovery, right? And so you've got to be an active participant in your own recovery. And so we want to make sure that they know that the engagement is inspired and it's passionate, and it's about their performance, and it's about our relationship together that makes this whole thing work. It allows us to let them know that we want to be present because we're there every day. It's letting them know that at this state in time, things are going to require a great deal of humility, and that you're going to have to kind of tone it down a little bit and understand that the things you think you might want for yourself may not necessarily be a reality. And so allow us to be able to tell you what is available and what is out there, so that we're able to make sure that you can get what's real and not some dream that doesn't really exist. Because a lot of times people want what isn't a reality. They want someone to walk up to them and say, hey, let me get you off the street. Here, take this pill. You'll never want another drug again, and here's a one-bedroom apartment. And it just doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to get to these places, and we want to walk you through it, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here the entire time, but you have to be able to endure the course, right? Like, it's not going to be some fly-by-night strategy that just all of a sudden opens these doors for you. And it's important that we remain very compassionate and respectful. We want to make sure that they know that we don't any big eyes or little U's, that we're here with you and we understand the struggle and it's real. And so we want to be able to make sure that what you're after, we can connect the dots for you to be able to obtain it. But you're going to have to be a little patient, and you're going to have to understand that this is not going to happen overnight. And then once we're able to make that connection and they see that this thing is real and that this person isn't going anywhere, and we actually do want to support you and be available to you, the biggest thing is, okay, so now how do I keep in touch with you, and how do I engage with you in this follow-up? So it's not enough to just be able to hand someone off to the next agency or to the next contact that would make things happen. It's important that they know, listen, if that doesn't work or if things don't go according to plan, please call me back. And I'm going to follow up with you at such a day and such a time and commit to that, so that you know we're not dropping any balls here. We're not letting you fall through any cracks. We really want to support you through and through, right? And this is the real key that makes it important to hiring peers and individuals with lived expertise to be able to support this model. Because when it comes down to it, an individual who has experienced homelessness with you and understands that struggle knows that every moment is urgent to you, right? And it's not about, okay, well, call me before 4 o'clock because I leave the office at 4, knowing that crisis doesn't pick an hour. It happens when it happens, and the services that we offer have to be able to be as fluid and flexible as crisis is, because crisis comes when it comes. And so we have to make sure that what we're offering people is equally as fluid and flexible as the crisis itself, right? And I just want to read through this recovery definition because I think in the final stages of what I'm talking about, it's very important. It says that recovery is a process of change whereby individuals work to improve their own health and wellness, right? And to live a meaningful life in a community of their choice while striving to achieve their full potential. And this is where the 85-15 comes in. I can't pick your life. I can't pick the things for you that you want to have. You have to pick that for yourself. And I just want to be the supporter and stand the grounds with you so that when things get a little confusing, we can work together through the difficulties and keep you back on course. There's no need for you to do this alone because no man is an island and none of us have done this alone. All of us have used teams to put together our own success stories. And I just want to not just be a part of your team, but also help you develop one. All right, Steve? So that's what I got for you, man. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Jeff, thank you. Listen, it's always just such a pleasure to just tune in and listen to you. Thank you for that. Some fantastic information. Dr. Oden, please take it away.
Thank you, Steve. So delivering services, I'm a medication-assisted treatment provider, Suboxone, and delivering services to the population of those experiencing homelessness is very different than delivering services to those who are housed. And it requires working collaboratively with a whole team of peer support specialists, of psychiatric clinicians, outreach workers, behavioral health therapists, either as addiction counselors or as licensed professional counselors. So all of the team has to work together. And the first time we see people, and seeing people when they're ready to be seen is so important. Not only do we have to see them when that moment arrives, when they can imagine a different life, so that we have to be quick to get them into services so that they don't overdose or become infected with Hep C during that interval. We have to figure out for them what kind of treatment is going to work. Are they going to come in twice a week because we need to keep that close of an eye on them? Or are they people that we can start with once a week and then move forward to spread those visits out? Constantly trying to engage them in therapy through motivational interviewing, trying to understand, since so many of them have previous treatment experiences, what happened? What happened that they got out of the habit, quit using, and then sometime after leaving a treatment program relapsed? And understanding those triggers that for them are so important. We have to offer a very different approach to when we see people. It's sort of being available all the time that the clinic is open, and then some arrangement for after-hours access as well. But looking to make contact with them whenever and wherever we can. So medication-assisted treatment, mental health services, working very closely with our local needle exchange. We have one of our peer support specialists that's there 2 days a week in the mornings, making contact, seeing of those who may be ready to give up using heroin and come into treatment is a really important part of reaching people where they are. And then there's the people who just come in for the everyday things they need as part of their living in homelessness kit, which is, personal hygiene items. They lose their clothes, so being able to provide them with new clothes. And then offering other adjunctive services, acupuncture, which can be so useful both just in the ear acupuncture modality, but also in full body acupuncture, with helping people deal with not only the chronic pain they may have, but their PTSD symptoms as well. So that rapid response, when somebody comes through the door in the morning and identifies themselves as wanting to enter treatment of some form, and that's the exact time that we need to see them. Recognizing that each one of our clients is uniquely different, and we have to tailor our approach in a way that works for that person. Our menu of options has to be extensive, recognizing that people learn in very different ways. And so much of what our early treatment goals are revolve around psychoeducation and helping them understand that, in fact, treatment does work. That people get better, people get their lives back, people get their jobs back, people get their families back. All of those things are possible. But we also have to recognize that many of the people experiencing homelessness have mental illness and substance use disorder combined. And we have to treat both. And so that's the importance of having good psychiatry support on the treatment team. And then recognizing all the little steps. I had a patient earlier this morning come in and tell me the stressors he'd been on had this week since I saw him, and how he dealt with them. And so recognizing those little successes of, okay, it didn't turn into violence. You didn't lapse. You didn't go make a finesse and pick up some heroin and use it. So just recognizing those small steps that people make. And then recognizing that everybody has their community. Like Jeff said, people get to select their own community. But we, in our treatment center, we need to be part of that community so that they have a place to connect with people who, first of all, may not be users, but people who are continuously practicing from a trauma-informed stance and doing everything we can to not re-traumatize people. But also just that welcoming as they sit in our waiting room and recognizing them and saying hello to them so that they begin to feel like, oh, this is a place where I can go and be safe and be heard and be seen. So, Stephen, back to you.
Fantastic, Dr. Oden. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to move into Lakeisha momentarily. I just want to do a quick sort of recap on the poll that's currently up in the room. And this is asking which of these strategies have worked for you to engage people experiencing homelessness, to really discuss treatment and recovery services and resources. So we've got a lot of folks who, obviously visit people on the streets and in parks. There's about 40%. This one, was one of the things that I did as an outreach worker. I kept the same weekly outreach days, times, and route, and it looks like about 31 folks are doing that, or about 31% of the audience. Starting conversations with people in clinics, we've got another, about 28% there. Saying hello to the same person more than a few times or a few times, definitely a strategy I've incorporated. Telling a little info at a time, I think that's a really smart way to make that approach. That's around 33%. Offering small meals and asking if folks want to talk, that's a relatively small number, about 15%. And I know that there are some, some restrictions and ramifications around that. wearing a name tag so people can approach me. There's about 17%, maybe 18%. And then inviting people to tell me stories about themselves. I really like that. And that's at about 36, maybe 37%. And then there's a fairly large group of people who do not provide direct service to homeless populations. But I suspect that folks are here today to understand what that entails and what best practices and evidence-based approaches look like. So thank you all for participating in that. I think you're going to see a final poll come up when Lakeisha starts presenting. And Lakeisha, I am about to turn it over to you. Take us home, okay?
All right. So my name is Lakeisha. I work for Multnomah County Mental Health and Addiction Services Division. I am a person with lived experience, and right now I'm Office Customer Engagement Coordinator. What that means is programs that have to do with mental health and addictions. I get input of the consumers as we're building a program or making policy decisions and things like that. So I'm going to start off with avoid assumptions. Prejudice is very apparent when dealing with the homeless population. People assume that all homeless individuals have substance use problems or have a mental illness and are responsible for their circumstances. Although this is true for some, a lot of that has to do with survival and coping with being homeless. Whether it has to do with protecting their family or their stuff out there, or even staying warm and things along that line. And also, folks stop seeking care because they're met with judgment for the way they look or present, and so they don't want to go somewhere where they don't feel comfortable. And a large percent of the homeless community are those fleeing from domestic violence situations, unsafe home environments, for example, LGBTQ youth, whose family are unaccepting of their lifestyles, and another contributing factor is economic circumstances. Like here in Portland, our economy has skyrocketed. We can't even afford to barely live, and we don't get living wage. And a lot of people are working and homeless at the same time just to get by. So get to know the people you're working with. Try to understand the person you're serving and not the condition. Ask questions. Ask them what they like. How can you help them? Often we help people with what we think they need instead of asking them what they need. And also making sure that the places you're sending them are welcoming. So like on your off time, getting to know the places you're sending your folks to, building relationships with those organizations. So when they know you're coming with somebody, treat them with care because you've built that relationship with that establishment. And also supporting individual choice. Give folks choices. Give them all the information to make a fully informed decision. Sometimes we send them somewhere and don't tell them all the information, whether it be curfews or just different things they would lose if they go into some of these places. Also, try not to push your own values and your own beliefs on people. Meet people where they are. You know, there are many pathways to recovery, including harm reduction. So just because I might do recovery one way doesn't mean that individual wants to do it the same way. So really meeting them where they're at and asking all those questions. And be fully transparent about what you can and can't do for them. You know, some people think we can do the world, but being honest, like I can help you with this, this, and this, and not, you know, giving them false expectations of what you can do for them. And Stephen, back to you.
Lakeisha, fantastic, and thank you for that. And you know, Jeff, Dr. Oden, Lakeisha, it's fantastic to have all three of you here sharing your expertise. You all three are out in the field doing this work every day. And I think, you know, what you bring to the audience and to all of us is the value of your experience and your expertise. And we're gonna really kind of dig into that right now. I've got a number of questions, and I just want to make sure that folks know if you've got questions, be sure to enter them in the questions and comments box here on your, on your screen, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Let me just start out really quickly with this one. Do you have any suggestions? And I suspect, Dr. Oden, this one may be kind of, leaning towards you a little bit more. Any suggestions for bridging the chasm between needle exchange and increased commitment to treatment?
Thanks, Stephen. Again, it's the basic principle of presence, having our peer support specialist who has the lived experience of substance use disorder, who has the lived experience of incarceration at the needle exchange 2 mornings a week. And that presence of her being there, people see her, they ask questions, why are you here? Well, I work for this treatment program, and if and when you're ready for that, I'm here to help you. And then a very hard handoff. We're about a mile from the needle exchange, and she may walk them over here to bring them in, or tell them, okay, just walk on over there and walk through the door and tell them I sent you. And so it's that kind of continuous presence of someone being there, so that when the person arrives at that point when they say, I'm tired of this life, I want to do something different, that there's somebody there to help them.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of my own experience, Dr. Oden, and I spent a considerable time in a medication-assisted treatment program, and it was very similar. I was homeless when I really started to look for support, and it was really around individuals who were attentive to the needs that I had, and often I didn't even really know what those were. So I wonder, Jeff or Lakeisha, any additional comments? All right. And Lakeisha, you're good too?
Yeah.
All right, let me go to another question. Are there any, and I think, again, this sort of dovetails with your response, Dr. Oden, any strategies for engaging someone who has been challenging to reach and talk to? And I'm just throwing that out to all 3 of you as presenters.
I think, this is Lakeisha, I think having that team is key. Really hiring people with that lived expertise who came directly from where the people are that we're trying to reach. They have a different compassion and understanding of that culture and are more likely to reach those unreachable folks. Sometimes people hire folks not understanding what peer support and lived expertise really means, and it's not learned. It's a life experience that you have to go through to really understand it. So I'm thinking really the workforce has to be that lived expertise with the population you're trying to reach.
That's great, Lakeisha. Thank you. Jeff or Dr. Oden?
I think an important piece is the not being pressured by our schedules. In this day when providers are sort of see somebody every 15 minutes, that doesn't work at all for this population. That we need the longer appointments, 30 and 45-minute appointments, to just listen. And that's such an important part. They need to tell their story, and they need someone to listen and validate it.
Yeah.
Great. Jeff, any final comment?
Yeah, I think there's not very much I can add. They both spoke very eloquently to the question. I think the story is extremely important. I've asked a lot of people what it is that they want, and not everyone has the ability to answer that question. But when I ask them how did we arrive at this place, they're pretty clear about their story and what transpired in their life. And in telling me the story, I kind of can hear the things that they wish, like as they're telling the story and they talk about the broken relationships. Okay, that's a goal, to mend those relationships, right? So I get to hear the things that they want and the things that kind of lead them onto a clear path of direction, and it kind of helps with a better understanding on where they want to go, when even sometimes they're not sure how to pinpoint that for us.
Great. Great. Thank you, all three of you. Those were great responses. All right. What recommendations do you have for hiring and training peers who are new to outreach? And again, I'm throwing that out to all of you.
Say that question again, Steve?
What recommendations do you have for hiring and training peers who are new to outreach?
Okay, so I do a peer training academy as well. We do also do some internal training, and we do some internship and some OJT. And I'm kind of dating myself. I've just recently learned that OJT is an old word. I didn't know that. I thought they still used it, but it's on-the-job training. So I didn't know that they don't use that term anymore. But what I've come to discover works is allowing people to identify how they love other people. Now that may sound really strange, but everyone has a different love language. And some people do it real well with speaking to others. Some don't want to talk openly to other people, but they want to be a part of the process in some way, where maybe they want to put some things together for other people to be able to get the packets and to be able to have the resources. And so I oftentimes in the training will ask people to identify what your love language is. What is it? How do you commit to service? And what works for you? And because you may come to get this job, but it may not be what I'm looking for, may not be what you're capable of. Even though you have lived expertise, this may not be your area of service. We may need to look in another area that allows you to love and be who you are and still use your expertise in a more fashionable way. I hope that answered your question.
That was just beautifully stated, Jeff. Thank you for that. And it's just really powerful in passion and compassion. So thank you for that. Dr. Oden, Lakeisha, any additional comments?
No, thanks. Jeff did a great job there.
Great. All right.
I would.
Go ahead, Lakeisha. My apologies. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Jeff said it pretty well. What I would say is with the hiring of staff, they're probably not new to outreach, but they might be new to ethics and boundaries on how to do outreach, and like Jeff said, if that is their area of expertise. But I'm sure many people have approached them in many different ways, and so they know the outreach part is just the ethics and boundaries. What can I do if hired for this position to help the population that I come from?
Great point, Lakeisha. That was fantastic. Thank you. And I'm going to follow up with a question because it's right targeted on that. Boundary issues are often bumped into in outreach. Any tips or strategies on how to ensure that we maintain those professional boundaries?
For us, we have a certification process. We have, matter of fact, we have adult addictions peer support specialist, adult mental health peer support specialist, youth peer support specialist, and family. And so in those trainings and the certification process, we teach the ethics and boundaries around, depending on what population. You can have one of the certifications, or you can have all four, depending on what your lived experience is. But in there, ethics and boundaries is a big part.
I think one of the difficulties for peer support specialists sometimes is their excitement for advocacy, and it's such an important part of what they do, and yet sometimes that excitement to try to help the client can kind of move away from what's actually possible in that moment. And so being sure that our peer support specialists really understand what we can and can't do on any given day is such an important part, so that they don't make a promise, essentially a promise to someone they're working with, and then bring the person into clinic, and for whatever reason we don't have the capacity that day or that particular hour to provide services.
Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Oden, that's really powerful, and it just reminds me of the old saying we had in street outreach all the time, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, you were going to chime in?
Yeah, in New York we also have a certification process, and we have it on both sides. We have it with the Office of Mental Health, and we also have it with in the substance use disorder world as well. Recovery coaches, youth, veterans, all that. They're different modules, right, of certification for peers. But what I would say to this in regard to ethics and boundaries, I often tell my staff that people are going to ask you to do things that aren't necessarily unethical, but they're different in a professional light. If it was your friend, you could do it. But it's not your friend. This is work, and you can't do it. So, but what I would tell them is real simple. Let them know what you're doing is connected to your job, right? And I ask questions like, did you appreciate the service that we provided? Did you like how we engaged and made ourselves available to you? Did that work for you? And the answer is always, yeah, that was great. We really appreciate you. And I go, good. Allow us to be able to do that, not just for you, but for the person coming after you. And if we break these codes of conduct and these ethical rules, then we're going to ruin it. And we're not going to be able to keep this thing going. So allow us to be able to do what we do, how we can do it, and understand that if I were able to, I would. Just know that I can. And it's really important when we talked about it earlier on, not telling anyone anything that's not realistic. Like, we got to stay true to it, and we have to be very honest about what we're able to provide and not able to provide. And I often set the stage right away to let them know, listen, let me tell you what this relationship is going to look like. This is what I am offering, and this is what I'm hoping you're willing to commit to. That way they know right away from the beginning of the relationship, this is what it's about.
Fantastic. Lakeisha, any final words?
No, that summed it up.
It did. It did. It was great. All right. I've got a couple more questions, but what I'm going to do really quickly is just take a quick look at this final poll. And this one is, how does your organization utilize the knowledge of people with lived experience? And select all that apply. So we hire peers to conduct outreach and provide services. A whole bunch of folks are doing that, about 63%. The peers are reviewing treatment plans with clinicians and offering suggestions. And there's actually quite a number of, about 17% of folks who are doing that. Peers help people receiving care to stick with their plans. That's about almost 50% there. It seems really logical. We have a peer on our board of directors, so there's about 14% there. We have peer staff members review and advise on agency policies and procedures. Fantastic to see that number at almost 40%. That's just terrific. We invite peers to tell their stories during community events, and that's close to 50%. In fact, it just went over 50%. And it's such a powerful, way to sort of humanize and share the struggles and the compassion that all of us bring to the table when we're working with our brothers and sisters out there who are, still trapped in homelessness. And then there's a small, percentage of folks, about 11%, who do not currently have people on staff identified as peers, and that's okay. That's totally okay. So I'm going to move back into the questions here, and we've got a little bit of time left, so we'll be able to get to quite a few of these. Here's a really interesting one. What are options people might have available when encountering a person experiencing homelessness from a culture unfamiliar to you or your agency's staff?
It reminds me, Stephen, I was practicing at one point in a clinic that served predominantly folks from Southeast Asia. And if we hadn't had a number of staff members who themselves were from Southeast Asia to help us to understand what we were dealing with, I would have been just lost in a forest. So got to have at least some access to someone who can help us understand.
Well stated, Dr. Oden, and totally understandable. Jeff or Lakeisha, thoughts?
I would say that's part of building those relationships with different organizations. We have different organizations that serve targeted populations. Like, say I worked at a clinic and we don't serve them, I'm going to call my partner organization over here and say, I have this person, can you help me serve them? But building those relationships and getting people to the right place. Like, sometimes we got to say, I can't do it here. Let me find somebody who can.
Well stated. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that services should be collaborative, not competitive. I don't think that it requires us to see who can serve the most people and get the most, accolades. And I think that's nonsense. I think what's important is, are we able to work together to develop a healthier community? Right? That's what we're all working to achieve. And in order to be able to do that, we have to be collaborative. No agency does it all. All of us have something that we specialize in and may do better than another. And so what I do, I will do. But what I don't do, I need to pass it off to the agency that does it well, And that includes when there's language barriers and culture barriers involved. We need to be able to work with partnering agencies and other community stakeholders to save lives.
Great. All right, I'm going to shift gears again a little bit. This is another interesting question, and I think it certainly has relevance in the population that we're working with. Reaching out to employers in an effort to help those who are in recovery and homeless has been a challenge. Any suggestions?
I wrote a response on that. I think finding champions is so important. We can go out and try to convince employers that they should hire people that we're serving, but our voices isn't very well heard because of their own fears, their own prejudices they may have. And so finding the person who has successfully hired someone from homelessness or someone with an addiction disorder or someone with an incarceration history, those people then become our champions to work with other potential employers. Employers, they live in these circles of contacts. And if we can find champions within a circle, then that person can spread to the rest of the people in their circle about that they have good experiences hiring folks. But we also need to recognize that when we do place people, it's a very critical time for them. And a little bit of failure can send them back a long ways. And so we have to be sure we have the people there to support them as they begin to engage in employment again.
There are two really great questions that are hanging, and I've got less than 5 minutes to get them done. I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to choose this one. And folks, if there are questions that didn't get answered, we certainly would be happy to do that as we close this event. But let me share this last question, and then I'll bring us home. Can you talk about self-care and addressing compassion fatigue, secondary trauma when working in this field? How do you approach this individually and for your staff?
So, can y'all hear me? Compassion fatigue is extremely important, and I talk to my staff oftentimes about your work is your work, not your recovery, right? Even though you work in the world of recovery, it's not your recovery, it's your work. And you need to take personal responsibility for your recovery. So while work is not your recovery, recovery is your work. And that's important to be able to define and to look at and identify, because the better you are at your own personal recovery, the better we become at what we do day in and day out, right? When I lose track of that and I begin to get focused on work and not my recovery, then I discover I have less to give because I'm not getting, you know? And so it's real important to be able to take a moment of time out of your schedule that's designed for your wellness and for you to be able to do what you need to do to stay centered and grounded, you know. And I make sure that within my core trainings for all staff is compassion fatigue. And we do other things like, you know, some Reiki and massage therapy, other stuff that just allows them to kind of have a moment of nothingness, you know, to be able to stay grounded.
Great, Jeff. Thank you.
I liked Jeff's comments about our language of love and how each one of us needs to understand sort of what parts of our job that we really do love and what parts of our job are more difficult for us, and focus our self-care sometimes on, okay, how do I make that part that's hard for me less hard for me? Because the other parts, the parts of my job that I just love, which usually means I'm sitting in the room with a client, but there's all the other parts too. And sometimes that's where the fatigue, and that's where systems are so important, and creating systems that make those parts of our jobs that are more difficult, the record keeping and all, really smooth and easy, so that we really can concentrate on the parts of it that we really love.
Wow, beautifully stated, Dr. Oden. Thank you. Thank you for that. Lakeisha, final comment.
All right, kind of to what Jeff was saying, making sure that they have their own support system. Who can they vent to and express whatever they need to. Sometimes in some of these organizations, there's only one peer. So when I have a peer action council where peers can come from different organizations and brief and talk and build their relationships and networks and also feel supported. And another thing is, I forgot my thought, letting them know that we won't win everyone. We can't save every single person, and it's all right. You know, we help those that we can help, and it's going to be some losses. And don't take it personal. Just some folks aren't ready, and some folks are. But, like, celebrate those joys that you did have and those wins that you did have.
Lakeisha, that was a perfect way to end today's Recovery Live event. I just want to say thank you to Jeff, Lakeisha, and Dr. Oden for really an incredible conversation today. It's not even a presentation. It was really just a great conversation. And thank you, all three of you, for just spending the time with us today. We are so glad that so many of you out there also came today, especially on the week between the holidays. And we hope you were able to take away some really important information designed to help you do your own work more efficiently. A link to a satisfaction survey is going to pop up when we close this in just a second. It'll take less than 3 minutes to complete, and we hope you'll give us feedback on our presentation. If you have any questions today, please put them in the satisfaction survey. And don't forget, you can reach out to Brass Tacks anytime for technical assistance. Just click that big blue button on the Brass Tacks webpage that says Request Technical Assistance, and someone from our team will be here shortly. We'll respond to you shortly. Also, there is some information on trauma-informed care in this presentation. We wanted to make sure that folks had the links to that, and you will certainly be able to access that